Did we just have the biggest sign yet that Splash Mountain could be closing for good at Tokyo Disneyland? With Tiana's Bayou Adventure, the replacement ride for Splash Mountain, finally opening in Disneyland in California after the one in Florida has been open for a few months now, the thoughts of Splash Mountain are at the top of everyone's minds, and Tokyo Disney just did something that could indicate that the ride is not long for this world. I'm Jordan from 8-Bit Theme Park Japan. I've been living in Tokyo for over 5 years and visiting the Tokyo Disney parks regularly. So if you're planning a trip to Tokyo Disney soon, or you just want to learn more about these unique Disney parks, please do subscribe to the channel. And if you love these videos and want to get early access as well as other perks, then please do consider checking out the Patreon. A huge thank you to everybody who does that. That's right, it's this topic again, so, scroll down and look at the comments at your own peril. For those who don't know, Splash Mountain, the classic log flume ride at the Disney parks, opened at Disneyland in California in 1989, and then was followed up in the Magic Kingdom and Tokyo Disneyland in 1992, so there were 3 versions of the ride ever built. The 2 versions in the American parks have since been turned into Tiana's Bayou Adventure, based off the Princess and the Frog films. The ride has been adored and unanimously praised by everyone, even those who were most stubborn about the changes. Or alternately, if you're not a fan of sarcasm, the ride has had a mixed response. I haven't ridden it personally, so I can't really say too much on the topic, but I can understand both sides, to be honest. I can understand people mourning the loss of this classic Disney attraction, and, objectively, the new one does have less animatronics, and retrofitting a new ride into an existing building is never going to be quite as cohesive as just building a brand new one from scratch. On the other hand, it does seem to be one of the more extensive and bold and kind of joyful attractions that the American Disney parks have seen for a little while. So I can understand both sides. And I can also understand why people are asking the question that we've been asking for years. Is Tokyo's version of Splash Mountain, the last one in the world, safe? And we've had some new news that may suggest no. So there's a few things we want to add together here. Recently was the Halloween event at Tokyo Disneyland, where we debuted a brand new Halloween parade called Into the Frenzy, which would feature Dr. Facilier as the host of this villain's party where they're going to extract the energy from the dancing crowd. Pump up that energy, pump up that energy. It's a very catchy song. This is not only the first time Dr. Facilier has been a character in the Tokyo Disney Resort, it's actually the first ever black face character that Tokyo have had. So very, very slow, but, it's a step in the right direction. It's good stuff. Many people saw this as a sort of test to see how the Japanese crowds would react to Princess and the Frog representation in the parks. We did have a tiny bit added a few years back, where we have a New Orleans section at Tokyo Disneyland. It's a lot smaller than the version in California, but it's very, very similar. And they added some Princess and the Frog paintings to the walls there, which was a big surprise to people here, because, at the time, Tokyo Disney really didn't do that sort of thing, like just plastering random movies onto the walls of places just, for like cross-promotion. But post-COVID OLC and pre-COVID OLC are very different companies. And now things are done quite differently. So that was added a few years back, and we thought, okay, maybe didn't think too much of it. And now we have Dr. Facilier, who's not only the main character of the parade, he's also been greeting guests around the park, and everybody loves him. He's been all over social media. A huge hats off to the performers because they're absolutely crushing it. And guests really, really enjoy seeing Dr. Facilier. You're even seeing guests come and dress up as characters from Princess and the Frog, which I have seen in previous years, but I've seen a little bit more of it this year. So whilst the introduction of Princess and the Frog to Tokyo Disney Resort is fresh in everyone's minds, everybody woke up to a surprise this morning when the Tokyo Disney website lists Hoot and Holler Hideout, which is kind of sort of the gift shop for Splash Mountain. Like, it's not exactly in the exit, but once you exit the ride, you do have to go through this tunnel to get to the rest of the park. And Hoot and Holler Hideout is a very small little shop that's kind of off to the side of that tunnel. Well, Tokyo Disney announced that it's permanently closing. So, speculation obviously runs wild from there. It has to be said, this is a small shop. They never really sold any Splash... Oh, not never. They used to sell a lot of Splash Mountain merch. The whole 5 years I've been here, it's always been like Chip and Dale stuff or just the generic kind of Mickey ears and whatnot. So I'm sure the place doesn't make that much money. And there's a very, very good chance that this is a shop in the corner of the park which nobody spends any money at. It's just not worth keeping it open anymore. The same can be said for the photo stall, where you used to be able to purchase photos from the ride after riding Splash Mountain. That's been closed since COVID and never reopened since. You now buy your photos from the main camera center at the entrance of the park. So you can sort of paint two different pictures with this information, right? You can paint the picture of, since COVID, OLC are more than happy to cut costs, even if it negatively impacts the guest experience. So if people come out of Splash Mountain and they see a closed shop and a closed photo stall, then they don't care because it's not really affecting their bottom line. That's a very, very real possibility. On the other hand, you have this ride that's been closed for being too problematic in the American parks. Rumors of Disney breathing down OLC's neck saying, we want this ride changed, we want this ride gone, which, I mean, they clearly do because they did it to their own parks, right? Like, why wouldn't they want to do the same thing here? And then these closures as well, happening in exactly the same area. You can make your own conclusions. I'm just the news guy. I do think something we mentioned earlier does have to come up, though, in that we have a New Orleans area, and it's not near Splash Mountain at all. Splash Mountain is way at the back of the park, and the New Orleans section is right at the front of the park. So there would be no way to connect these two areas together. Maybe that stops Splash from becoming Princess and the Frog. Maybe it doesn't. You know, it's not like the Bayou is right next to this built-up New Orleans city center, you know? Like, they could easily be separate areas if that's the route they wanted to go down. However, you may not know this is little known by a lot of even the strongest Disney fans, but Disney are not just a theme park company, they're also an animated movie company. They have a lot of movies to choose from. I'm going to go through a few that I think could happen here. Moana. Moana is absolutely enormous. I did say in a previous video that I think Moana is perfect for Disney Sea. The film is all about the ocean. Disney Sea, even after Fantasy Springs, still maybe needs more for families to do, and that would be an amazing addition to that park as a new area, which the park does have land for, we know, because they planned a frozen area for this corner of the park before, and then that became Fantasy Springs, which is in a completely different place, so that plot of land is still there. However, Moana would fit perfectly into Tokyo Disneyland as well, and as a splashdown ride, I mean, it could be perfect. There is a similar issue to the New Orleans thing with this as well, because Moana is a perfect fit for Adventureland, which, again, is not next to Splash Mountain. Splash Mountain and Critter Country that it's interconnected with so much. Like, if/when they do change this ride, the whole area is going to have to be completely redone, unless they find something that basically can have the same theme. But yeah, this area is nestled right in between Westernland, Tokyo's version of Frontierland, and Fantasyland. So it could become an extension of one of those, but I don't really see that happening. I think it's always going to be its own area. I think letting it be swallowed up by something else would kind of feel like a downgrade. And that's one thing that I think we can trust OLC not to do. So briefly going back to Fantasy Springs, let's look at their Frozen ride, Anna and Elsa's Frozen Journey. Because I think that sets a precedent, which is important when we talk about Splash and the future of Splash Mountain. OLC, the operators of Tokyo Disney, took Frozen Ever After, this ride that was retrofitted into Maelstrom at Epcot, that was then basically cloned and copied into Hong Kong. They took, the idea of a Frozen boat ride, that's great, and then they plussed it by an enormous degree. They turned it into this absolute world-class, one of the best rides in the world, probably. The idea of OLC taking that same approach to Tiana's Bayou Adventure and saying, okay, we'll do a Tiana in Splash Mountain, but we'll just throw money at it. We'll make this thing absolutely superb, and we'll make sure people come off the ride saying, that is an upgrade, which some people are saying about the American ones, but it's far from being the overall consensus. And that applies to anything that could replace Splash Mountain. If it was Princess and the Frog, I think it's going to be really high budget, a really amazing version of that ride. And hey, by the way, we just had Facilia in the park, so I don't know why we couldn't also have him in the ride. And think about the last however many rides that OLC have built. You've got Beauty and the Beast, you've got Frozen Journey, you've got Rapunzel's Lantern Festival. They're all basically just retellings of the movie. They're not kind of wrapped up in this idea that, oh, we have to tell a unique story and it has to be set after the movie. No, like, they'll be very happy to just say, this is the story of the movie, again, but in a ride. Which I think would serve Princess and the Frog probably a lot better than the current ride, which, you know, many have criticized Tiana's Bayou Adventure for being sort of a flat line emotionally. Like, there's no kind of tension, there's no stakes, there's no peril, despite it being ostensibly a thrill ride. I don't think that would happen here. I think we would get a Facilia, "Are you ready?" going up the climb hill, which, ooh, that would be an amazing moment. A Moana version, I think, would crush it. A lot of people are talking about, ever since the Lion King splashdown ride was announced for Walt Disney Studios in Paris, or what's it going to be called again? Adventure World? Ugh, it's going to take a while to get used to that one. Yeah, a lot of people have been saying, well, how about they put Lion King into Tokyo's Splash Mountain if Princess and the Frog isn't so popular there? Everyone loves Lion King, right? Well, yeah, I don't think we should write it off. But it is definitely worth mentioning the Lion King has a weird history in Japan, because the general consensus here was that Disney ripped off a much older, beloved Japanese animation about Kimba, yes, Kimba, the lion cub, which the first time I found it, I assumed it was the other way around, you know? But no, that came much, much before. So Lion King has this weird ring to it here that could affect it. It's worth bringing up. I still think, you know, The Lion King still has this enormous brand recognition. It's still a very beloved Disney movie. I still think that it could go in there, but something I forgot to mention in the previous video I talked about this in is that, yeah, it does have this weird controversy here, which could affect OLC's view of wanting to put all this money into a Lion King ride. So what else is there? Well, I saw one Twitter post today that said, "Bring back Western River Expedition, you cowards." Which, like, again, like, this is right next to Western Land. Oh, if they turned this into an original story based around Western Land and based off the plans for basically, in Florida, they were gonna build like a Western version of Pirates of the Caribbean, but then everyone said, "Where's Pirates of the Caribbean?" And they said, "Well, let's build Pirates of the Caribbean." And fans have always kind of wanted that. If they turned Splash into that, I would lose my mind. But that's not going to happen. A big one that may be the top of my list for things that I could see them doing. This is a much more recent movie. It's a beloved movie. You see the costumes all over the parks. You even see merch being sold at TDR with these characters on them. And that's Zootopia. Feels like a perfect fit to me. You've got that kind of Bunny Burrows, the farm area that's at the beginning of the movie where Judy's from. You can keep a lot of those Critter Country elements, you know, these animals that live in tiny little houses with doors and windows and things. You can keep a lot of that, which will save OLC a ton of money if they can keep even some of this Critter Country theme and not have to wipe out, again, not only the ride exterior, but the restaurant, the whole area, the floor, just everything. I don't think people realize that it's not just a ride here. The whole of Critter Country is basically Splash Mountain. The whole building just interconnects with everything seamlessly. I think Zootopia could keep a lot of that on the outside, and you may be thinking, Jordan, the name of the movie is Zootopia, which is the city. It's all about being in the city. Well, yeah, you can have that be in the dark sections of the rides, you know? Is it ideal for a Zootopia ride? No, probably not. But in terms of things that could reuse the Splash Mountain ride system and that area, Zootopia has to be in the conversation, for sure. And we know that Disney have already made animatronics and outdoor scenes and things for Zootopia because they've already done it in Shanghai Disneyland, so they could definitely do it here. And while it's tempting to just keep on listing movies that could potentially go here, I think those are the big ones that are worth talking about. Hey, let me know in the comments which movies you think would be a good replacement for Splash Mountain. And again, try not to read any of the other ones because they're probably going to be... Yeah, I'm not sure what conversation is going to be going on down there. But I do trust OLC to put a significant amount of money into this. Fantasy Springs, those rides are phenomenal, especially Frozen Journey. And I mean, if we're talking about something on that kind of scale for this, it could be incredible. If you want a deeper look at Anna and Elsa's Frozen Journey, as well as the whole Frozen part of Fantasy Springs, which I think does set a precedent for what we can expect for the future of Tokyo Disney, check this video out next.